and welcome back to Story Impact, an author interview podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Towles. Success is often measured by titles, promotions, achievements. But what if lasting success begins with something much quieter? Presence, purpose, the way we choose to show up in the world. My guests today, my good friends Eric and Carol Ann Wentworth, have spent decades helping people build extraordinary careers without losing sight of what makes a meaningful life. Together, they've built successful businesses, authored books, mentored leaders, and created communities where conversations about well-being, human connection, and spirituality thrive alongside professional success. Eric and Carol Ann, it is such a joy to welcome you today to Story Impact.
Hi,
Thank
Lisa. It's good to be here. Good
Thank
to
you.
see you.
All right. So, yes, I want to talk about Eric's latest book and a lot of other things today, but let's first start with one of you telling me about Wentworth Executive Recruiting, since that's what I imagine to be the center of your work.
Well, I'll take the lead on that if I can, Eric. And that is, it came to be, Lisa. It'll be 12 years this fall. And really from a passion of clarity. And I have been blessed to work in the retained search field for 35 years. And there was a point when it just became real clear that we wanted to have our own firm. And so we sat down and literally visualized it, spelled it out. Eric came in with what he could see as far as the website creation and content because he's an award-winning writer. So he brought that to the table for me. And Wentworth Executive Recruiting was born.
That's amazing. All right, so Eric, let's pivot from here, from your central business to your writing. And I know that you both are involved in the writing, but I want to start with A Mindful Teen. It was just recently released, and it's already won 2 prestigious awards. Congratulations on that industry recognition, first of all.
thank you.
Um,
Actually, we've won 3 major awards now.
wow, that's amazing. All
Yeah,
right.
it's surprising to me, but I think the subject is one that really resonates right now with people. And it's about the challenges that teenagers are facing that are unprecedented
Mm-hmm.
uh, compared to any previous generation.
Mm-hmm.
And these are challenges that parents often have a hard time relating to because they didn't have to go through the same things.
Yeah.
Didn't have the internet. They didn't have, cyber bullying. They didn't have online fake porn videos being made of themselves. These are all things that are impacting teenagers at a very vulnerable time in their life.
Yeah.
And our book is designed to use mindfulness to help parents collaborate with their teenagers and start a dialogue to address these problems. Because oftentimes people will shove it under the rug, or teenagers don't want to talk to their parents about some of these issues. They're embarrassed about it.
You just answered my next 3 questions, actually. I was thinking about, no, that's perfect. I was thinking about teens now compared to like 20 or 30 years ago, and not what role can mindfulness play in their development and well-being now, but how to sell them the idea of it. So, and I was also going to ask if the book was written for teens themselves or for parents. And so it's for parents. And can you kind of take me through a little bit of how you do sell the idea of how a parent can make a teenager care about something that doesn't have to do with their smartphone, their hair, their social life. I mean, like the things that are just omnipresent. I remember being that age too. I mean, like, how do you make them care about that?
It's not easy, and teenagers are all concerned about themselves primarily, right? And they have a lot of issues with peer acceptance and they have a lot of fear around their relationship with their parents, even the most enlightened parents. And so this book tries to use some mindfulness techniques like gratitude, intention, non-judgment, things like that, to begin a discussion with their teenagers, break down these barriers of fear that they might have. So that parents might say to their teenager, we know you're encountering some issues, and we just are here to help. There's nothing you can say to us that we're going to judge negatively. We just want to help you. We're your parents. So if you can get that kind of a relationship going with your teenager, you have a good part of the battle won right there.
Mm-hmm. And what age of teens are you thinking of when parents use the kind of the framework of your guidance?
Yes, it's mostly high school.
Okay, older teens then.
But it also can go either way, up and down. It can be younger children,
Mm-hmm.
because they're starting to face a lot of the same issues that teenagers are.
Yeah.
Then it can also move into the college years when you're 18, 19, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. And don't you think in a way, so my connection to this topic is that I'm married to a high school teacher, and both of my parents were public school teachers. And so I've been very close to teachers all my life, and I have such reverence for that craft. And I hear the stories of their students. Don't you think in some ways, if a teen's parents are modeling mindfulness, even if they're not teaching it and kind of facilitating conversations like what your book is offering them, but just by modeling it, that's going to kind of filter in somehow?
No, you're absolutely right. One of the things that we emphasize in the book several times is that parents are models for their children, whether they realize it or not. Their activities have got to be what they want to instill in their children. This is also part of the problem because a lot of parents, frankly, um, are difficult people to deal with. They may have issues of their own. They may have um, drug or alcohol problems, or they may have relationship problems.
Mm-hmm.
So what we tried to do with this book was to subtly tell parents, you really need to step up to your responsibilities as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
and be better role models.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, the book will help improve parents as well as
That's what I would
teachers.
think. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, in the work that they're doing to basically prepare their kid for the world as it is now. Carol Ann, I want to ask you about the book that we can see behind you, A Mindful Career, and this is a book that you guys wrote together. Can you tell me about that book and tell me about kind of the mechanics of your co-authorship? How did that work?
Yes, absolutely. So, Eric and I both work from our home, and our offices are a hallway apart. And he would always hear me in my office when I did my interviews and preparation for a search. And he would come in and say, "Honey, you need to write a book." And we were at the heat of we had been into doing our own search from about 6 years. And I did think, I thought, you know what, we are different. We bring a mindful approach, a very compassionate approach to search. And so I asked Eric, I said, I'll gladly co-author a book with you. Can you help me create the outline from what you hear? And so he put a binder together for me and actually had 12 sections, Lisa, and we tabbed it off because I do like to longhand write when I do write. And
Interesting.
so my downloads would come sometimes at 3:30, 4 in the morning. Like I literally would wake up and go, "Oh, I got it," and I'd start writing it. And then once I filled this binder up, which was several months of writing, Eric took it, and we often joke about this because he um, because he's the award-winning author and writer guy, he said, it's a little too maybe spiritual. I'm gonna, you know, sprinkle some common sense on this. And I go, okay, cool. And so he did. And then when I read his draft, I said, okay, this is your book, not me, because it doesn't, like he had a lot of the processes that I talked about, but because I come from a mindful approach to it,
Mhm.
I really did not want to lose that piece.
Yeah.
And because what I really am finding today, Lisa, in the world of work, and I know that was one of the biggest connections for you and I, is that people are really thirsty for what their purpose is. And I have found it through um, deep personal transformation, deep self realization, really looking at what lights you up. And I have found from my experience that does come from a spiritual place. It doesn't mean religious, it just means where your heart center space is. That you can say, "Ah, I can't wait to get up today and be the best coder, or you could be the best marketing person, or be the best writer. But it comes from a place where you're aligned with
Yeah.
your mind, body, soul.
Yeah, aligned with your purpose. I mean, so you've done what Eric did 5 minutes ago. You completely answered my next question. So there must be some telepathy connection going on here. Carolyn, you have been my career mentor in the past, and I really think mentoring is one of your special gifts and also something that you love. I mean, like, look at the labor market right now, for example. This is a tough time right now for workers and for job seekers. What advice would you give someone if they came to you and said that their day job wasn't aligned with their deeper purpose?
The number one thing, Lisa, that comes to mind, um, and people really have to take the deep breath. And I talk about getting grounded. And people will say, well, what does that mean? And it means quieting the monkey mind, the chatter that's saying you're going to lose the job because of AI, or you're going to be replaced because of AI, or you see the writing on the wall and you create your own anxiety around the conversation. And yet maybe you're not going to be replaced, right? And
Mhm.
so I have just found from doing this work for 35 years that when I'm very grounded, and what I mean by that is I meditate in the morning, I journal, I make sure that when I hear different thoughts come up, I'll write them out and I don't attach it to them. I don't give it energy. So, for example, last week I had a stressful situation with a family situation I'm dealing with, and a trust factor. And boy, when I hear about stories, that would be a book you should write about
Mhm.
because family trusts are entertaining.
Mhm.
And when I had received some new news, my first instinct was just to blow a gasket. Like I was just livid. And then I caught myself and thought, what purpose does this serve? It's only going to take me down a rabbit hole of pain, anxiety,
Mhm.
stress, my nerves, and I need to focus. So I think I had about, I don't know, Eric, what, 3 minutes where I got a little mad. And then I said, okay, done. And so why I say that I'm doing it in a snapshot, and it does take work. It's a
Yeah.
practice
Mhm.
that you have to catch your thoughts that way. I remember one thing in when I used to attend Spirit Rock Meditation Center out in Woodacre,
Mhm.
and every Monday night for 8 years, I did not miss. Like that was my therapy.
Mhm.
And they always started the evening with, and this would apply to any of your listeners, literally where you take 3 to 4 deep breaths and take them in and let them out. And as thoughts would arise, you would name them.
Mhm.
So whatever, it could be happy, it could be sad, but you just gave it a name and then you blessed it and let it go.
Mhm.
And there's a magic when you really do that for you because it does take the stress out of the body. But
Mhm.
it was a practice. I had not been used to that. And now, golly, that's been over 15 years ago. I learned it, and it really meant a lot.
Well, that's interesting that you're about how you're using that too, with the family dynamic that you're dealing with that was so unsettling and upsetting. You allowed yourself to react and then you self-regulated and got yourself
Yes,
back on track and said, what do I need to focus on right now? Acknowledging that, if we allow those kind of emotions to flourish, it can take us down a dark path and take us away from our purpose. I mean, the
yes,
the word purpose is, the kind of like the subtitle of this podcast is books, meaning, and purpose. Not just books and authors, but why, the why people write the books that they do, and how it's answering their kind of spiritual call. Um,
love it.
I want to get back to kind of the business side because Eric, I want you to tell us kind of about your heavy business background in writing, marketing, advertising, and then how you draw on that for what you're doing now.
Well, I've always been a very curious person and have gotten involved in a number of things over the years. My basic career started in college when I was enrolled at the University of Missouri School of Journalism. And it's a great journalism school because you get hands on experience. The school actually runs the town's newspaper, they run a radio station and a TV station. It's an ABC affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
They have an ad agency, a PR agency. So whatever discipline you're going in, you can get real life experience. So when you graduate from there, you can hit the ground running wherever you go. And I started off in the advertising business and worked at major agencies, eventually owned my own agency for about 10 years. But I've had entrepreneurial ventures on the side just because they were things I was interested in. I did a specialty travel tour business that took automotive enthusiasts to Europe to visit the factories and go to the Grand Prix races. And that was fascinating. But it's because I'm interested in both travel and cars.
Hmm.
Um, we opened up a couple of coffee houses, um, which just because you love something, you probably shouldn't do it in a big way. Um,
No comment.
it was the coffee houses were successful. It was a lot of work, though. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
very demanding. I remember once I worked 93 days straight at it, and this is from like 6 in the morning until midnight.
Wow.
So I love still hanging out in coffee houses. I just don't want to own one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been involved in a couple of startups. I'm a co-founder of one that right now is starting to finally get some traction called Arranger.com. It's a competitor with Calendly. So I've done entrepreneurial things along the way because they were interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I tell everybody in when I'm giving career advice that don't do what your parents particularly want you to do. Don't do what you feel like you should do. Do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your interests.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Mark Twain, maybe it was Mark Twain who said, if your vocation is your vacation, you'll never be unhappy in what you do for a living.
Love it.
I think that's very good advice. And yet, my guess would be that the great majority of people are doing things that are there primarily to make money. And it's not, I don't want to use the overused word passion, but it's not something they're interested in.
Yeah, so it might not be long lasting then. I'm a book coach, and when I work with writers. A lot of times I say, don't write for the market, don't write for the specifications of a genre, write for what's here pushing to come out of you, and then work on the marketing of it later, and kind of fit it into this genre or that genre. Write the story that wants to come out. That's where you connect with that purpose. And it sounds like that's what you've done for your ventures too. You took something that you were interested in, your passion, and you built something with it to bring it to more people. And I think that's amazing. You guys both have amazing backgrounds, and you bring so much into what you do now.
Well, I love to read, and in fact, we're actually giving away books right now to the library because over the years we've collected over 1,000 books, and they're beginning to take over the house. And because I love to read so much, I always thought it would be kind of fun to try writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, it's a lot of work and takes a lot of time, but it's also one of those little passion projects. I've never, it'd be great if one of them became a bestseller, but I've never had that as the intention of writing a book. I just like the process of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may just
Yeah, of
segue a little, Lisa, and
course.
that is we, the last couple years, I spent writing a course, which we're going to be launching here in a couple of weeks. It's a 6-week program, online Zoom, that's called Mindful Career Mastery,
Mm-hmm.
Unlocking the Code, Mind, Body, Soul.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally are going to be exploring how to get there. So everybody starts out with a job. When you get out of college, you really you don't know where you're going to be, or we all did the next thing. Like Eric said, he was lucky to land a position up in Chicago with a great advertising agency. And I know yourself, you got into the communications and had a flourishing career, as director of communications and excellent at what you do. And I find now today, because people not only out of college, but between 35 and 55 are really questioning,
Mm-hmm.
why did they show up? What
Mm-hmm.
is my purpose, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when I have placed several thousand people in my career, and I study people, I study patterns, I study the dialect, the conversations. I can feel pain in their voice when they're talking like, I just need a job. And then I want to calm that for them to help, again, reframe it. Let's look for a career. And what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
And how is that different than a job? A
Mm-hmm.
job, you'll get burned out. We all know that. We've all been there. We
Mm-hmm.
give our all, our 110%, and we can't figure out why it doesn't feel right
Mm-hmm.
until one day you wake up and you're thinking, is this all there is? Right? And
Yeah.
so when I saw the numbers on it, and now with the mental well-being breakdown in the country and in the world,
Yeah.
I felt a calling, a real pull, that heightened last year that said, Caroline, you need to write this course. And and that's then again where the downloads started to happen. And it really flowed, Lisa. And my intention, I want to help as many people with this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I feel grateful we met, and I'm honored that I was able to help you shift through that process. If I had a little piece of that, it means the world to me, because what you're doing, you just light it up. I hear from people that have worked with you as a, author coach, and I'm so excited because you stepped into your greatness. You stepped into your purpose, and it was just a matter of timing. I really believe that.
And
And again,
and
You
yeah.
know,
good role models like you guys.
one of,
You have to be willing to risk, right, Eric? Because I think at the end of the day, um, if you're comfortable and you think, oh, it wouldn't work for me, you
Mm-hmm.
will never know if it will work for you,
Mm-hmm.
much like you do with your coaching. And
Mhm.
Eric, you were going to say something?
Well, I just always find it interesting when you read articles about what are people's biggest regrets at the end of life. And one of those biggest regrets is that they didn't do what they wanted to do in their career.
Mm.
People seem to reach a point, as Carol Ann was saying, between 35 and say 55, where they have achieved a certain amount in their career. They may be making a certain amount of money. Sometimes I refer to it as the golden handcuffs because the money's so good that they're afraid to make the change to do what they really want to do. But
Exactly.
that's the period when they really need to do that deep down
Mhm.
self-analytical work to figure out what it is that would really resonate with their soul, what it is that they think that they can develop expertise at and um, and build a career off of, so that for the second half of their life, at least, they're doing what they should be doing.
And I think what you guys do in your practice too is you can help people pivot. You can help them get from point A to point B, but
Mhm.
still you structure the career narrative and the resume so it looks like it's one continuous path. And so it looks like it's not a pivot because, like the person who's doing the job seeking, they're the common denominator. They're the compass, kind of driving forward. I want
This linear career seems to be disappearing,
Yeah,
where you do one thing and build upon that for your entire life.
yeah. Yeah, I think that was the paradigm for a long time, certainly with my parents. You get out of college, you get like a degree in a field that you want to be in, you get a job and you stay there for 20 or 30 years. Now you get a job out of college that may or may not have anything to do with your degree, and you stay
Yeah.
there for 3 years, and if you're not happy, then find something else. And I mean, like the labor market right now, it's just it's so different, and so I think it needs practitioners like you guys to kind of help be an anchor for people. And I'm so excited to hear about your course. I will make sure to include a link in the notes so people can learn more about that. But when does that course start, Carol Ann, again, and tell me the name of it?
Well, it is called Mindful Career Mastery, Unlocking the Code,
Okay.
Mind, Body, Soul.
Hmm.
And we are doing a launch. I believe you had the official date, I think, this morning, Eric, when you spoke with our team. I believe it's going to be middle of July.
Okay.
And what that means is prior to that, I'll be doing phone calls with people. So if anyone's listening to this, they can find me on LinkedIn. And I want to do a pre-call to see where you're at, right? And what your goal is, what your end game, and if I can be of help. And then we would move you then into the course piece. But we are launching it with a founders club, which is going to be 20 people. And I've been working diligently on putting a gratitude gift box together, which is going to be designed with so much love, with a journal, our book, and it's going to be updated with all the current AI information. And I've got a few other surprises I'm putting in there to keep people just knowing that it's going to be okay, and
Yeah.
we can do this together. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
No one, my whole career journey, Lisa, I feel so blessed. I've had an amazing career. I've had hiccups in my career too, because when I learned in those hiccups what I did not want, it made it all the clear what I knew I wanted and what I needed to move towards, right? And
Mhm.
so it's learning how to be able to come in the alignment and the energy of all of that. And that again is what we'll be teaching. And I'm going to have a breath work master come, as a guest. We've got some really cool things we're planning. So
Hmm.
thank you. Yeah, I'm just excited. I want to help as many people manage this new dynamic we're all living through.
That's wonderful. I want to hear from both of you on this next question. I want to talk about success. You've spent your careers helping people become successful in different areas. How has your definition of success changed over the years, and what does it mean to you now? Think of someone who's just graduated from college and they're looking at the very beginning of their career track, and what would you tell them about what it means to be successful?
Well,
If I answer that first, I think that people are changing their definition of what's successful based upon what's happened in the workplace over the last 25 years. It's not the kind of workplace that your father entered at all. Um, and today, people are learning that they pretty much have to look out for themselves. And the description of personal success has changed along with that. I think the first indication of that was people were starting to look for more of a balance in their, a work life balance that made sense, and that has evolved from there to people beginning to question, what is my purpose in life? And I think that's become especially important for the Gen Z cohort. They really have a different attitude about the workplace than, say, the boomer generation did. And they're looking for a lot more than just work-life balance. They want to do something that has an impact, that has some purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the past, people measured their success by titles, promotions,
Money.
uh, how much money they were
cars,
making,
yeah.
things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not quite as important at all anymore.
Mm-hmm. Carol Ann, how about
So,
you?
oh, thank you, Lisa. It's interesting. This conversation comes up a lot in a couple groups we're involved in, and you've visited them, our Partnership for Change. So, and why I say this, it's a global humanitarian group, and I tie it back into when I was in my early 20s. I've always been one. Um, to give the shirt off my back. I want to help people. Like it's just ingrained in me as an empath. So for me, I never looked at success at as a title, who I was hanging out with, how much money I could make. I just always knew it would work out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I put myself in situations where I could meet the people that had created success, if you will, meaning the number one guy in the Shackley Vitamin Company when I was all a young age of 20. I went to a seminar in Minnesota, and I always loved telling this story because it was a freezing cold winter day, Saturday, and I sat in the front row, and I wanted to make sure I met Bob Holker. I just had this intention that I just wanted to shake his hand. And an hour after the program, and he had his new book out, I got his last book. I waited an hour in line. I shook his hand,
Mm-hmm.
and he smiled. And because I was into health and fitness, I started that passion when I was 18. But why I share that, Lisa, is 6 months later, he called me and asked me to come out to his 72-room mansion in the hills of Minnetonka and interview to be his secretary or executive assistant back then. And so I had three of the most phenomenal years learning from a gentleman. His success was about family, about health, about doing what you love and helping others, always making sure you bring up others along the way with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just felt comfortable in that environment. And it's how I've always lived my life. And Eric knows that and built the businesses we have. And we have been very blessed in our careers, and we've done very, very well. And we've also lost it all. When we did lose a coffee house in 2008, and we were hit hard. We had cars repossessed in the night. We lost our home. We lost our financial money, our investments we had in stock because of the crash, the Great Recession, 2008. And
Mm.
I remember standing with Eric and our son Jack at the time, and it hurt. There is no doubt it hurt a lot, but I knew it wasn't anything we did.
Mhm.
It was what was happening in the world. And
Mhm.
I also knew in that moment we could be bitter or better. And I said to Eric, you know what? You take time to write. I'm going to get back into what I love doing. And that was search because I had ran a couple Chamber of Commerce. And there again, that's a whole nother podcast on how I got recruited into LA, started day before September 11th at the Woodland Hills Chamber and recruited 248 people in the chamber that year through initiatives, through bringing people together, um, having potlucks in the boardroom, saying, Lisa, how can I support your business?
Mm.
And so we created all these initiatives, and I went on to receive 13 congressional awards from the state of California for my work. Why I share that is I didn't like set a goal to do that. What I did is set a goal to say to the people, my constituents, how can I be of service to you? How
Mm.
can I help you? And
Mhm.
so for me, the turning point when that happened to us in 2008, it hurt, but I tell people it really was that blessing. The silver lining was I got back into search. I loved being back where I could really make a difference, and connecting people. And Eric wrote, and and you know what? It got better. If anyone, and you've known us now for a while, and you know our story, we live simply. I don't need a big fancy house to make me happy. I need a clean house. I do like to keep my little 1,400 square foot house neat. And then we can get out and hike and bike and do dinner parties and just be with friends.
Mhm.
That is success in
Mm.
my life.
Mm. Great answer. And I mean, the themes that I'm hearing today from both of you are kind of, like honoring what's here, your, kind of your heart center and purpose, but also service to others. And I think that's one of your superpowers, both of you, is, being a pillar that's kind of facilitating these important conversations about where we're going and why and what the bigger picture is. So I wish both of you so many blessings on your new course. I'm so excited to hear about that. And Eric, I'm sure your book's going to go on to win even more awards. What's next for you, Eric? Are you writing any new books next?
Well, we have a book that I've been working on now for, um, 2 years. And it's a nonfiction book, and it's in the career space, or it's in the workspace. And it's called A Mindful Workplace.
Mm.
The issue, I think a lot of writers have this issue, is that, especially when you're writing nonfiction, is that things change as you're writing it.
Yeah.
And so you have to constantly rewrite.
Mm.
There have been so many major changes in the workplace over the last few years. But one thing it addresses is how to use the principles of mindfulness to run a business with integrity. And right now, America is having a real trust crisis, and that especially applies to big corporations.
Yep.
And corporations need to begin working from a platform of kindness, compassion, empathy, and trust.
Yeah.
And they're not right now,
Right.
uh, by and large. And so this is a book that hopefully will have an impact on businesses to operate more mindfully.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear about that. And I always look forward to everything that you guys are producing in the world. And you're such an inspiration to me. And thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you, viewers, for joining us. at Story Impact, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Lisa.